Hello, Andrea and Rahul. I'm so glad to have you on my hot seat LinkedIn Live today. How are you doing today, and where are you dialing from?
Andre?
Andrea, you can go first.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I'm dialing from Rotterdam, the Netherlands, and everything is
Uh,
fine here. Looking forward.
Perfect, Rahul.
Amazing. I'm dialing it from Delhi, and it's nice and cold, so it's good weather. Yeah, having fun.
Great. I greatly appreciate you dialing in today to explore, the synergy of metaverse and AI-driven experiences. It sounds really interesting to me because it's personally, it's a field. I mean, it's something that I've never really thought, is possible to do. So I'd be really interested in that conversation. And we will use it, to help our audience all over the globe to address their blind spots and gain competitive edge with the help of our lovely mentors. And my first question will go to Raul, who is responsible for the metaverse part of our interview. And I'd like to know a little bit about you first before asking you a question.
Thanks, Kate. Basically, it's very difficult to pin down exactly what I do because I'm an artist, I'm a designer, I'm a tech guy, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been fascinated with creating metaverses since I think around 1997. And I set up my first metaverse experiences and VR experiences around 2006. So I've been kind of working with metaverses literally half my life. Very passionate about them, building one right now as we speak, and really interested in seeing where AI can actually take this. So I'm actively exploring that aspect of it at the moment as well.
Perfect. So tell me, in what ways, at the top of your head, can businesses actually use metaverse? Does it really impact, the future of user experience?
Yes, in fact, especially so when you integrate metaverses with what are called digital twins, which are, literal twins of actual offices, of spaces, of interactive areas, and so on. And definitely, with the advent of AI, AI is, of course, a game changer as we saw last year and are seeing this year. Businesses will definitely have to start using it to a very large extent unless they want to actually fall behind everybody else, because it's a real productivity enhancer. As to what businesses can do in it, basically, any number of things that you could do in the real world, you could pretty much do in your virtual space. You can have, I mean, starting with virtual offices, recruitment, orientation, job fairs, and it also kind of depends on what vertical you're in. If you're like a retailer, there are things that are tools that are going to be especially useful for you. If you're a lawyer, there are other tools that are especially useful for you, but the emphasis would then be on more like personal, interpersonal interaction. So the metaverse kind of addresses all of these things, and AI will actually take it quite to the next level.
Thank you. And Andrea, I'd like to know more about you. You're responsible for the AI driven side of our interview. So tell us about yourself.
With pleasure. Um, my name is Andrea Marchiotto. I am Italian living in the Netherlands, and I currently work as ambassador for Exclusible, which is a leading studio that creates immersive experiences for top brands. I'm also the founder of a side business called Black Cube, which is about generative AI, AI tools, applications, and tech partnerships. But my experience is actually started in e-commerce and growth marketing. I work for tech, the likes of Yahoo and Amazon. Some years ago, I was part of the founding team of Amazon. I was in charge of deals and events. But then I moved to the Netherlands and started my journey at Unilever and finally at Philips. And so, for example, at Philips, I had the honor and pleasure to create the very first Web3 strategy, which is this umbrella that is encompassing a lot of new technologies, the spatial web, also known. So, if Web 2 was about social media and the power of uh, the big companies, the likes of Google, Facebook, etc. And Web3 is all about decentralization. And in Web3, we put also AR, XR, and all these immersive technologies, and the metaverse itself is very interesting. I started to get closer and closer actually to AI and large language models 2, 3 years ago. because I became a moderator for an AI startup called Contrastive, which was the precursor of text to image modeling. And from there, it's a rabbit hole. So I dove deeper and deeper and deeper. And last but not least, I'm also authoring, finalizing the release of my book called The Roadmap to AI Adoption with the biggest Asian IT publisher called BPB. It should be out in Q1, hopefully. And it's like a comprehensive guide that gives you both strategy and tactic for businesses on how to integrate and implement AI and emerging technologies effectively.
I remember, and I'm looking forward to this book because it sounds like a lot. So, and from what I hear, it sounds like you're actually an expert like in both metaverse and AI. So, you can help tell me how can businesses maybe like, leverage AI technologies within metaverse to enhance their either, their marketing strategies or their designs, and can it actually help make your efforts more effective?
Thank you. I don't consider myself an expert, first of all. I like to be surrounded by talents and professionals who know more than I do. So I am absorbing and then sharing with you what I know, right? And what I know is that, well, this convergence of AI and the metaverse is very interesting. Things are evolving so fast. So beyond the hype that the metaverse got some years ago, then the metaverse got very interesting because it became very useful in very specific use cases. One mentioned Rahul with digital twins. Yeah, Damac Properties, for example, I know they invested a lot of money to create the digital twins of their luxury properties to give the chance to potential customers and prospects to see what it would look like, their ideal penthouse or apartment or villa for on sale. That's just one example. Then when we put AI in, well, AI augments everything. So you can do personalization at scale. So AI gives you the chance to analyze an incredible amount of data that is being generated in the metaverse, and where you can identify user behavioral patterns and user interactions. So you can do real time data analytics, you can do predictive modeling, looking into how behaviors would change. And you can, of course, create a lot of user engagement, user experiences. And I think I can share a couple of examples because I mentioned before that I have this role as ambassador for Exclusible. And so Exclusible, which is this studio that is focusing a lot on metaverse, but especially on gaming experiences, did, for example, a project with Coty on spatial. So there are these platforms out there: Spatial, Journey, Imperia, Roblox, Fortnite. So for brands, it's important to understand what do they want to do. Do they want to build on existing platforms, or do they want to own their own metaverse on their own IT stack? That's also something very interesting because one gives you flexibility and ease of creation in a sense, but you're always dependent on platforms. And from the other side, you actually are integrating completely all the technologies in your technology space, in your IT stack. That's also interesting. What Exclusible does. And for Coty, that I was mentioning in spatial, they created an internal metaverse that was used for education, training, team culture, and onboarding. And another example was a creation of a metaverse that went in parallel with the physical space. So when Hugo Boss was present at the Miami Fashion Show in 2023, Hugo Boss was also present on spatial, open to public in parallel. So they got 40,000 unique visitors and an average time spent of 9 minutes, which is huge. And that was an experience that combined gamification, avatars, digital fashions, and e-commerce. And we are seeing now that with this evolution and this huge hype that generative AI and large language model have, brands are more and more interested to work and create and build engagement on gaming platforms. And if we have time later, I can show you something about the one of the greatest platforms out there, which not everyone know about, which is Roblox, which is the
Mhm.
perfect platform for brands for targeting young generations. So you see, there are a lot of uses of AI in the metaverse, from creating engagement to analyzing data to creating super hyper personalized experiences. So the combination of the two will bring us certainly in an incredible uh, next few years of discovery.
Absolutely agree. I love that you drew a lot of examples because our audience loves examples of how you can actually utilize this technology. And I had a burning question that Andrea has already started answering as to, how this synergy between AI and metaverse can actually create you a more like data-driven experience and create a more effective and maybe more engaging, engagement strategy. So if you still have something to add, Andrea and Raul, you're welcome because I'd love to learn even more, even deeper about this synergy.
Got it. There is one interesting point. AI represents a democratization of creative talent, right? Now, one example is that Midjourney and other generative image generating AI tools are allowing even people who haven't had like 10 years of design training to be able to actually visualize stuff very, very effectively. Taking that into the metaverse realm, we guys are developing a creative tool that uses AI to actually generate 3D content so that people inside the metaverses that we're building are able to actually create and monetize their own unique content without actually having to go through an insane learning curve to be able to do that. So that was one thing, and obviously the data collection, the personalization, all the points that Andrea mentioned are really, really critical, and they do represent a major sort of paradigm shift in how people are actually perceiving, these kind of technologies.
Perfect. And Andrea, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, agree. Totally agree. And I think we can maybe divide in two components. There's one component which is data. So there, the synergies are extremely relevant. And I touched upon this topic before. So rich data sources, real-time analytics, predictive analytics, AI, along with the metaverse, can grant you as a brand, as an entrepreneur, and the possibility to dive deeper into understanding how the user behaves and consequently create effective marketing strategies. You can go so narrow that you can create hyper personalized situation in which, for example, you can implement AI avatar that resemble, they are so sophisticated, they're almost indistinguishable from from the real person, and they know exactly how to speak to you. And
Yeah, so
imagine
agent
that in the
avatars,
context of the metaverse, that's
yeah,
mind blowing.
yeah, agent avatars, assistant avatars, there will be such, there are such major leaps happening that even, people who are in the game are finding it difficult to keep up.
Indeed, indeed. And then there are some also consideration in terms of privacy, because in ethics, when we talk about AI, generative AI, and all these kind of tools, ChatGPT, etc., the metaverse itself, it's very important for brands to understand that the privacy of the user must be respected. All the regulations needs to be, in place, and this is the best way to to capitalize on the synergy between the AI and the metaverse. Um, I think so. That's very interesting. Um, Raul was mentioning Mick Journey. I have another example to share. It's from a company called Kubrick, which is amazing because they decided to focus on text to image, but for cinematographers and
Kubrick.
expert in visual effects. So what
Wow.
happens now is that you can create backgrounds that are hyper realistic, and you can use those backgrounds so that your actors can interact even better with the environment, and you can change the environment in a second,
In a second.
Yeah, and so it seems like the fusion of the meta, it's in a way it's almost like a metaverse experience, because it allows directors, cinematographers, and actors to be even more immersed and have much more possibilities to create great narratives and stories. So that's a good use, I think, of this AI powered technology.
So it's not like you have to use a green screen and apply the background later, and the production happens like in lifetime.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Perfect.
And the
So
converse to that, unfortunately, is that the people who are designing the physical sets and all, are in a very rapidly vanishing part of the population. For example, these are very major concerns that Andrea actually brought up. And there's a reason the Screen Actors Guild was striking in Hollywood, for example. This represents a pretty major threat to a lot of professions. So that also needs to be addressed in a good way.
absolutely. It actually helps with my second question because it feels like, everything that we're talking about, it's so interesting, it's so innovative. And, I feel like a lot of businesses right now, especially who are not doing, really well, they're trying to search for new ways to stand out. They're just trying to gather all of these immersive technology that are popping up every day and just use it hectically, sporadically, just to try to do something. But how can we, maybe you have an advice on how to actually, strike the balance between still staying true to your business goals, still trying to be close to your users, to your customers, but try to be innovative and use new ways to attract new customers.
Yeah, see, the key is here to actually contextualize. What happens is that people are using AI like a sledgehammer where they should be using it like a scalpel, if you know what I'm saying. Um, all said and done, all these things, immersive technologies, AI and stuff, are just tools, right? The creative vision has to come from within you. Your company philosophy also has to come from within you and be augmented by these technologies rather than the technology replacing them completely.
Andrea,
Okay.
do you have anything to add about how can we strike this balance?
This is a crucial question because we are touching the core of the modern digital strategy. How do you maintain the balance between, constantly innovating, personalization, growing? So we need a deep understanding of the users. That's for all
Always.
technologies, for all the channels, everything. That's the starting point, and we need to have in place feedback loops so that we can continuously adjust and iterate more and more. But more importantly, we need an effective strategy in place. So the key question is, what do you brand want to achieve when playing with generative AI tools or playing the metaverse? What's the key business objective? Is it about commerce? Is it about raising awareness? Is it about creating engagement? Or is it just about, maybe it's just about testing the new platform that you don't know, so you can gather feedback, you can gather, some data that you can bring back to your peers and stakeholders and take the next step. So, also this MVP type of approach. Start small and fail fast so that you can adjust with the more lean startup and agile kind of approach in a sense. Um, so I think a lot must be done also in terms of constantly reinvesting your profits in R&D, which R&D doesn't mean only creating a new products. It means also investing on these new technologies and understand really how you can best take advantage of those technologies. Lots of brands, for example, some years ago, they were spending quite some money on platforms like the Decentraland. I
Or
don't know if you
NFTs, yeah.
if you heard about NFTs and Sandbox. And now things are shifting, things are changing. Brands understood the power of gaming platforms, and so this is why I was mentioning before Roblox that is rising up. It's very interesting. Maybe if we have time, I can show a couple of slides to let you understand why a platform like Roblox is so important today.
Yes, before we proceed to an interesting question from the audience that I just read, I'd like you to share maybe some examples of what you're doing or what should it, just like to present some visual examples. Andrea, you can share the couple of slides that you just mentioned.
Okay, okay, great. Let's do
Okay,
that.
let me start it for you.
Yeah. So look, this is one of the presentations and decks we use at Exclusible, and they also use with brands in our conversations. I just jumped on a specific part that is related to the metaverse, and what is interesting to understand is that, at least from the perspective of Exclusible, and many brands, the metaverse is a bit of evolution of social media. So before, brands were spending a lot of time to understand how to crack Instagram and Facebook. TikTok still quite relevant because since it's the biggest social media platform in the world. But now you have enriched social experiences with the likes of Fortnite and Roblox. Okay, so just to give you an idea, a few years back, there was, things like the Central Land and the Sandbox, which you can see here in orange in 2022, you see. But now, over the past few quarters, and also this year, Roblox, which is the light purple, fuchsia kind of bar, is growing significantly. Okay, so what does it mean working on Roblox? Basically, Roblox is the place to be. We're talking about a platform with, actually, now it's even more than 70 million daily users worldwide that spend a lot of time on the platform, where you can create even gated experiences, because I think 14 or 60% of the audience is above 24 years old. So this is not just about, you know, the super young. And so with Fortnite, with the likes of Roblox, you can create incredible gamified experiences that are really engaging with the users, and where you can also, you can create these metaverse immersive spaces, and you can monetize out of that. So yeah, this, you can see here, this is just a couple of examples of what is possible. Um, by the way, Exclusible also created an interesting tool, which I'm going just to show you here. It's a free tool, which is called Blocks Metrics, which basically gives brand the possibility for free to see some stats about what are the brands that are playing over there, what are the top experiences, why things are working for them. And this is very useful information for brands that wants to kind of replicate or try to tap into this 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 platform.
I can actually attest to that because as a representative of Generation Z, I can tell somebody who sits on TikTok, on Instagram, the popularity of Fortnite is growing dramatically because
Sure.
I saw personally, I haven't played those games, but I saw how much people talk about the concerts that are actually happening in Fortnite, like Travis Scott and etc. And they are so popular. So I can attest to that. I personally saw the effect of using Metaverse this way. Thank you
And it-
so much, Andrea. That was a great example. Raul, do you have anything to share? I remember the video. You wanted to show us the
Oh
video.
yeah, yeah. So basically, currently I'm involved in architecting a metaverse for education. Now, education is one of the key areas which I think metaverses could really help with. Essentially, we guys are building a space where any educational institution, and there are hundreds of thousands in India alone, can actually meet with each other. They can set up their virtual campus, they can have their training. It's a very good way for interpersonal interaction between communities from different educational institutions. Along with that, we have a ecosphere of what happens to the students once they graduate from college. So there's a support of businesses and other entities, that are taking the students and all the learnings that they have and incorporating them into their own businesses. It's got a complete economy so that people can actually earn off their creations. Now, this is a very important thing. There are two things that we are actually building upon here. First, we're creating like a creator tool for this virtual space, which lets pretty much any student, any teacher create their own tools or and sell them in the open marketplace, right? The second concept we have is called learn to earn. That students should be given some incentive for actually getting into this place and earning. While so there are rewards that are granted for good performances. There are rewards that are granted for interactions. You can sign on to be, say, um, for example, an event manager, right? For an event that two universities are hosting together, and that's a paid job. You actually get paid in money, which you can transfer back into your bank. Fostering this kind of creativity, fostering the kind of educational tools that we have, giving people a completely new platform on which to actually interact with each other. Um, I've felt that this has been very relevant since I think around 2012, and finally, 12 years later, we're actually coming down to implementing it. Um, so we are launching the MVP of this metaverse in another maybe a month or so. And once the MVP starts, then our entire team is going to be focused on how to actually make it a working platform. It's very exciting to be part of a growing new world like this and to be helping to architect it, to build it, to actually, see what tools can be used inside it. And my experience building previous metaverses is also that there are a lot of these very unexpected things that actually start coming out. If you set up a creator economy alongside that, you'll start having a business and a consultancy economy as well, which you can't really predict. So, I mean, we're at the initial stages yet, but I do feel that this platform, the metaverse for education, has a really long way to go. There are lots of, firstly, like a university can expand beyond its 2,000 physical seats, for example, and get 10,000 people. There's no restriction on the number of students you can get, right? But the focus being on quality education. Now, I'm an educator myself, and I have big issues with the non-linearity of education that's happening across the world today. The two of us could be, oops, okay, you could stop sharing.
Oh my God, Raul, we need you. Like, it's so sad that it hasn't launched yet, but maybe next year, because on Tuesday, Gleek is going to BAT, which is ACTech
Mhm.
conference. We would absolutely need to see something like this there. So we would love
I
to see
can,
that next
lovely,
year.
I can have a working version of the build ready for you. It's ready to download for beta users, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. We can talk about this. Thank you.
Definitely.
I
So
loved seeing this. So now that we still have time, let's answer an interesting question from the audience. I got a question from somebody in the development team, and he's asking, how can you effectively communicate to ensure, like with the stakeholders, to ensure that we can implement such technology, and communicate it from the marketing team to stakeholders and ensure that it's implemented successfully and is, met well with the whole team and with the whole company, who can be pretty skeptical, he says.
use ChatGPT. Kidding. But yeah, Andrea, let you answer that.
Maybe in your experience, any tips that you came across?
I look, I have experienced this because look, I was working for Philips, which is amazing company that is using AI mostly in the health system parts. I was part of personal health. And so as a venture leader, that was my role. My job was to create new startups inside the organization. So when I proposed Web3, I created the very first Web3 strategy for Philips, and I proposed a pilot project. There was a lot of skepticism. So how did I communicate to the stakeholder to convince them to jump on board? Well, there's a lot of, it's like, so first you need to identify your partners, your champions, your peers that are very open to innovation and are willing to support you. Then once you have explained and you have educated about what you are trying to achieve, what's your business objective, what is the MVP looks like, what are the costs. You also need to start preparing for a conversation for your senior stakeholders that wants to see money. They want to know the
ROI.
ROI. These are the classical questions. So how do you get to that when you have no clue and no idea because you are experimenting with something so new? What is very useful is to show what competitors are doing and provide a lot of use cases. So if you bring, it's like when Exclusible is talking, for example, with top brands, they mention what their competitors are doing. So there's a little bit of fear of missing out because
Nice.
240 brands in 2023 jumped on Roblox. So why don't you do it? You know, so it's there's a lot of psychology, but also there's a lot of preparation in terms of detailing a plan that is clear, that is desirable, feasible, viable, and
Right.
potentially scalable. So these are the four factors. If you have an answer to these points, you are mitigating your risk of getting a no and increasing your chances of getting a okay, let's try it out.
Superb answer, Andrea.
Nice.
Thank you. Raul, do you have anything to say?
Yes, in fact, there's a strategy I use to actually address these kind of things. The thing is that you need to clearly identify three key things across the entire project that you're setting up. Right? The first thing is the situation. What is actually going on right now? Right? What is the what is the ecosphere that we're actually talking about building into? The second key thing is the need. Is there a need for what you're actually doing? In my case, a lot of times I have to convince my VR clients that, look, this is a use case for virtual reality or augmented reality that no existing technology can solve, which you can't do with a website. So, you have to clearly establish what the need for the new technology that you're, proposing is. And the third thing is you can't provide a situational analysis and a need analysis without providing a solution. Often what happens is that people get stuck at the whole thing of, yeah, this is what we need, this is how it's going, but no clear solution is identified, right? So give it to them in a package that this is what is happening, this is what needs to happen, and this is what we are projecting will actually happen. And all of that has to be backed up, like Andrea said, with case studies, with existing examples, all with projections, based on empirical data, not like stuff that you like. A lot of the people in the industry are all about the hype. They're all about you really need to do this, and yeah, that's not possible without like a clear structure, right? So the more clearly you're able to articulate this entire structure, the more chances there are that the investors and the stakeholders are bound to actually understand it and then adopt it.
Thank you. That's a great wrap up of our conversation. And I really appreciate again for dialing today because that was really informative. And I see that our audience loved this conversation. And I love that you're doing Andrea and Raul. I didn't know that, Metaverse actually brings you so much possibilities because when I first heard about it personally, I thought it was just a buzzword. But from what I've seen, what businesses are doing, it looks really promising and it just sounds exciting. So again, thank you so much, and thanks to our audience for dialing in today. If you're interested to see how metaverse and AI synergy can bring benefits to your audience, I highly encourage you to check how you can work with Andrea and Raul to help your business succeed. Again, thank you, Andrea and Raul, and I'm
Thank you
looking
so much.
forward to see you thrive in our community. Thank you.
A
It's been a
pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Goodbye.
so much.